In this week's episode of Assassination Classroom, Nagisa reveals his most deadly weapon, and the origins of Koro Sensei are finally revealed. This week's episode of Ass Class is going to be a game changer. This is definitely going to be the turning point of the series, as we finally get to learn a little bit more about Koro Sensei, where he came from, and where he's going to be going. Not only that, but this week's episode opened up with an amazing action sequence with Kaede Kayano going completely insane due to the tentacles which have been inserted into her neck. She's going through a revenge-filled rampage trying to take out Koro Sensei, and there's only one way they're going to be able to quell her bloodlust, and that's if they can distract her for a small amount of time. This will give Koro Sensei the perfect opportunity to sneak in and remove the tentacles from her neck, bringing her back to her senses. Now, while watching this episode, I kept trying to think, how in the hell are they going to stop this girl from attacking Koro Sensei? Hell, this is something that even Bitch Sensei brings up. I mean, would you really want to jump into the middle of this incredibly intense fray with this chick who has tentacles which are on fire? Yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with her either, but you have to be a little crazy to do that, and it doesn't really get any crazier than Nagisa, the main default character of the series, who manages to stop Kayano's rampage in one of the most unexpected and awesome scenes from the entire series. He casually walks right up to her, and then immediately plants a big old kiss right on her, and this is a good 15-hit tongue-to-tongue French kiss from Nagisa, which I have to admit was pretty damn steamy, but it actually managed to make Kayano stop going all nuts, which gave Koro Sensei the opportunity to bring her back to her senses, and this is finally when he's going to reveal his entire backstory to the class. But not until we get to see the return of Shiro, who finally removes his mask in this week's episode, and he looks freaky as hell. He's got this, weird robotic apparatus on his face, which kind of makes him look like a cyborg. One of his eyes looks really weird, and it's pretty clear that when he was using this mask, that he was altering his voice, because he now sounds completely different. His real name is Kotaro Yanesegawa, and he is a crazy mad scientist who is actually responsible for Koro Sensei's existence. That's right. So, this is a really important scene, and there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to do it justice, because it was handled so well in this episode. But basically, Koro Sensei originally was a human. He wasn't something who was just created through mad science. He was someone that was experimented on until he became this unstable, superpowered teaching monster. But how he got there is a little interesting, because you see, Koro Sensei was the original Reaper. He was the original Master Assassin, and unfortunately, they do not reveal his name in this episode, although I have a feeling that his actual name is incidental. It probably means nothing. All you need to know about Koro Sensei's past is that he grew up in a war-torn country where everybody was constantly betraying one another, and his best skill set was assassination. And it came to a point where he was considered the best assassin that he got the nickname the Reaper. In fact, he even took an apprentice under him, which is the current Reaper, the one with the creepy skull face. And at some point in time, it looks like the new apprentice Reaper actually betrayed Koro Sensei, and he was captured by this organization that started to do these crazy experiments on him. These experiments were led by Yanesegawa, and what they were trying to do, at least according to them, if this makes any sort of sense, is that they were trying to implant antimatter into human cells. So basically that humans could carry on antimatter in their bodies. The problem is, it's very volatile, and a normal human probably couldn't be able to survive this process. But Koro Sensei is not exactly a normal human. In his human form, he's extremely calm, almost horrifyingly calm, to be perfectly honest. Nothing really seems to bother him all that much, and after a lot of inhumane experimentation of him constantly being poked and prodded, he still manages to keep his cool head. And it also helps that he is actually going to be coached a little bit by this woman by the name of Aguri, who of course is the older sister of Kayano. And you can definitely see that Koro Sensei as a human is starting to develop a really big relationship with her. The problem is, she is betrothed to Kanasagawa, who apparently knows a member of her family, and they're going to be married forcefully so, and he doesn't seem too happy about any of this. He doesn't really seem to care. However, I really love this little, weird pseudo-love triangle that's going on, and you know what? I don't even think love triangle is the right word for it, because Aguri does not care for Kanasagawa whatsoever, especially because she's constantly getting beaten by him, but there's this great scene where she's being messed with him towards the end of the episode, and Koro Sensei walks up to this, glass wall because he's all confined and everything, and he just, taps it, and there's this, huge ripple that just explodes through the room and completely knocks Kanasagawa out. It's pretty freaking crazy, to say the least. So really, this whole scene right here is just to show us how Koro Sensei was transformed into the monster he was, and how he was influenced by the only person who actually treated him like a normal human, and that was Aguri. And Aguri was also the original teacher of Class 3E as well, so there's going to be another connection for that as well. And we're probably going to see that in some of the coming episodes, but this one right here was pretty damn awesome. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Assassination Classroom? This one was really eye-opening. This is going to be the big game changer of the series, and there are so many little moments in this episode that I really appreciate. Some of the biggest bombshells, aside from learning about Koro Sensei's backstory, is the fact that no matter what, he is going to die at the deadline. It's something apparently in his body that's going to cause him to die, and I'm really kind of curious as to why he's trying to get someone else to kill him before that happens. It probably has something to do with the antimatter in his body, and it might even be connected to the destruction of the moon as well. And if the moon was destroyed, imagine what could possibly happen to the Earth. That's probably why he's desperately trying to find someone who can actually assassinate him properly without everything going all boom boom. But that alone is a big moment. But I really think the Nagisa Kayano moment at the beginning of the episode was really fantastic. That was just such an unexpected scene, but I have to admit, when Nagisa was slowly starting to walk up to her, I did think in the back of my head, he's not going to kiss her, is he? Why would he do that? Oh my god, he's doing it, and he's slipping the tongue. Holy crap. It's a really funny scene, not only that, but just the reactions from the other characters, like Ryo and Karma, who immediately decide to bring out their cell phones and take a snapshot of this moment. And even Kayano's reaction as to when it's all done. She really does return to her old self, which is something that I really did like. Despite the fact that she was acting and sort of putting up with all of this crap for her revenge, there were still some twinges of her real personality coming out. And the students of Class 3 are going to choose and remember all of those great moments with Kayano, and not the moment where she transformed into a monster trying to kill Koro Sensei. Koro Sensei as a human, that is an interesting thing, because I never expected that if he was a human that he would look so normal and so simple, and even the voice is slightly different. It's obvious that it is the same voice actor, but when he is Koro Sensei in his big octopus form, he's clearly hamming it up quite a bit. But it's just strange. Maybe I expected a little bit more from this, but maybe that's the entire point of his character and his backstory. Just an unassuming person with some extreme skills who's been transformed into this super destructive monster. All I know is I'm even more interested to learn a little bit more about the backstory of Koro Sensei. I really would have liked a little more time with him and the Reaper, seeing what their past was like, how he actually trained him, and just getting to learn a little bit more about him. But really, he's more interesting as Koro Sensei than he is as a human. But I really do appreciate this backstory, and I can't wait to see how it's all going to wrap up, especially now that the villains are appearing. Kanasagawa with his weird, creepy cyborg eye looks really awesome, and he's also joined by this other unseen assailant, which I'm guessing has to be the apprentice of Koro Sensei, the current Reaper in the series. He's completely covered up because his zipper is all the way up on his hoodie, so you can't even see him whatsoever. He has a big sniper rifle, and he only appears for a few seconds right next to Kanasagawa, who just so casually takes off his mask in this episode. Really, really creepy looking character, not just when he's a cyborg, but even when he's a human. He's got these weird looking snake eyes and this extremely over the top cleft chin. He's just a really great villainous looking character, and, you know, it's great that they finally managed to, like, transform this character into a real threatening person with extreme ties to Koro Sensei's past. He doesn't even, like, see the Reaper, like, as a human whatsoever, like, just doing all of the experiments on him. He barely even recognizes him as human, and that's really, really disturbing, and this is definitely why I'm sure Koro Sensei is probably going to want to get a little bit of revenge against this character as well, although he's going to do it the Koro Sensei way, which is not through assassination, but through education, and I can't wait to see how that's all going to play out. And it's also worth noting that there is a brand new intro this week, which is okay to say the least. It is a little spoilerific, because in the intro you can actually see Koro Sensei's human form with a younger version of the Reaper, and I think they revealed that just a little too early. I really would have liked maybe if they'd have kept them in shadow, or maybe just showed a silhouette of the characters, and then after this episode in the next intro, then they could show them in full. Because when I was watching that intro, I saw that, I rewound it back, and I'm like, huh, that might be the human form of Koro Sensei, and lo and behold, this episode revealed that fact. So this was a good episode. It was an episode that was a long time coming. It had a lot of great shocking moments, some really great action at the beginning. That moment where Nagisa kissed Kayano is going to be very famous amongst S-Class fans, and the origins of Koro Sensei are finally being revealed with a cool villain, so this is definitely something to look forward to. And it's even more surprising too, because in the intro they even have like Assassination Classroom, the final season. When I saw that pop up for the first time, I had a chill go down my spine, because I was like, wow, this is really the end. We're finally about to start getting into the endgame portion of Assassination Classroom, and I have to admit, it's pretty freaking exciting. So S-Class fans, definitely check out this week's episode. Without a doubt, the biggest bombshell episode of the entire series, if of course you don't want to count the last one where Kayano was revealed as a tentacle user, but this one right here is finally getting into the backstory of the main character of the series, Koro Sensei, and that's something to look forward to. So I'm going to give this week's episode right here a 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it from beginning to end. I loved all of the different tones that are present throughout this series, and it was just a really fun episode to watch, and it's got me even more excited for what they're going to do with the finale of Assassination Classroom. So there it is, my thoughts on this week's episode, but I want to hear from you guys. Why don't you tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Assassination Classroom? What did you think of Nagisa kissing Kayano? Was that a shocking scene for you? And what do you think about Koro Sensei's backstory about being the original Reaper and then being transformed into a Frankenstein monster of destruction? And what do you want to see from the final season of Assassination Classroom? Please tell me in the comments section below. Did I ever tell you guys that you are awesome? Thank you for watching this review. I really appreciate it. If you would like to, please subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.